Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick.
I'm Ian.
Today we're talking about music subgenres and why are there so many of them.
Right.
There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you go check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for our merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music weekly playlist we put together, and also the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give us the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we release new episodes. So when we first started coming up with ideas for the show today, originally this was going to be something very different. We were just going to talk about our favorite subgenres.
Then we started looking at what subgenres were.
And I was really surprised what subgenres were out there. I mean, there's 300 plus different subgenres. And that's why it kind of got me started thinking about, why does everything have to be its own subgenre?
Right. Because if you look at some of the titles for these subgenres,
I'm going to read over some of them.
Yeah, you start to go, well, why? I mean, What is that? And then you try to think about bands that would fit into that category, and you just either can't, or then you're like, well, how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. Like just rock alone. If you want to look at just subgenres of rock, there's like 40 of them. I'll just go through some of them. Acid rock, adult-oriented rock, Afro-punk, adult alternative, alternative rock, American traditional rock, arena rock, art rock, blues rock, British invasion, cock rock, whatever that is, death metal, doom metal, glam rock, gothic metal, grindcore, hair metal. The point is, there's so much overlap to all these different subgenres.
Yeah, you just got through up to H.
Yeah, exactly. Why does there need to be so many of these different subgenres?
Right.
And I think a lot of that really kind of has to do with the fact that there's so much blending of genres now. You can take any band that's making music now, and they probably don't fit neatly into one single genre.
You could argue that that's true of bands even going back to the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Because especially back then, everything was a bit more experimental, and it's tough because, a band like Sabbath started out as a blues rock band.
Yeah.
Then they actually created their own subgenre of doom metal.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just, as far as blending goes, I think it goes all the way back to the beginning of rock and roll. I can't understand why we just can't like what we like. Why does it have to have a label?
Well, yeah, but I mean, because in music, you've always had like a rock genre.
Right.
But I think people look at music and look at subgenres, and they look at almost, it can't be like this big umbrella term.
Right.
It can't just be, you just can't be a punk fan. It has to be hardcore punk. Or, because what kind of got me thinking about some of this is the way that, whenever I talk about Green Day on the channel, I always get people saying, well, Green Day is not even punk music. Well, they are. They're just a subgenre of punk.
They kind of created that subgenre,
Yeah.
I think, the pop punk.
Well, they didn't. The Ramones really kind of started that. But anyway, and that's kind of, and we've gone down this rabbit hole of, there's so many different, I mean, I'm not kidding. When I looked at the list, there's over 300 different subgenres.
Yeah, it's crazy. To be honest, like, some of them didn't even make sense to me. Like, he mentioned steampunk rock. And I actually had to, look up bands that fit under that category according to some website and listen to them. And even then, I'm like, well, it's just kind of goth, maybe emo, with a little bit of electronica in it. There's a number of bands that could probably fit into that category that aren't even in that category.
Yeah. But it's just really interesting that the music you played, I consider that a completely different, like you said.
And there was a difference
goth
between
or emo. They fit probably better in those than something like steampunk.
Right. And the one band was even more like punk, had a punk edge to it. So
yeah, it did. It had like this almost kind of like 80s Bad Brains vibe to the band.
British punk kind of thing, because it was definitely a British singer.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just weird that a lot of those I didn't even recognize, or it didn't register in my mind what bands could fit into that category.
Exactly. And I wonder if some of this has to do with just how easy it is to release music nowadays. So if you release music on SoundCloud and you've got to label your music, you've labeled some kind of genre. Like I said before, there's so many different ways that an artist can fit into multiple different subgenres that you almost kind of have to create a new subgenre for that, whether it's stomp and holler or whatever you want to call
Whatever
it.
that means. That was another one you mentioned.
That
I
is,
was like,
that's a subgenre.
yeah, I know, but you mentioned, I'm like, what the hell is
Stomp and holler?
Stomp and holler. I mean, is it literally just what it says?
No.
Just stomping and hollering?
No, it's regular music. I would consider it like alternative rock. So according to the internet, bands like Mumford & Sons, Lumineers, Stomp and Holler.
And I would call them more like
I said, like alternative rock.
Well, I would even go as far as to say maybe like alternative folk rock.
Or alternative country rock.
With some of it, yeah. I mean, you could even argue maybe some slightly Americana type of rock. But I think
it's
like
Stomp
Mumford
and
and Sons and Lumineers have more of a European vibe to them, so it'd be more folky.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it because the one popular song they had was kind of like a boom, boom, boom kind of?
That's a good question. I've got no idea.
My point of questioning all that is just, I don't really know why you need that level of separation. You know, I don't consider myself an extremely eclectic person when it comes to my musical taste, but I don't really need to distinguish, say, classical music from rock. I just like that music, you know. But I guess that's just a personal thing. But I don't really. The only time you really have to delineate between any type of music is when you're trying to communicate with somebody, I guess. But to me, it's just I just easily say, oh yeah, I like this artist and I like Mozart.
Yeah, I guess. But there's a difference between, say, Megadeth and Blink-182. They're both
there's a
under
very distinct difference.
They're both under rock, so I wouldn't. I guess there has to be some kind of breakdown subgenre wise.
Yeah, I mean, equally, you could say the same thing about like the difference between the Ramones and Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So yes. Or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, just to make it a little easier grammatically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that to that extent, but I don't know if you need 300 different types plus of that, because at that point you're no longer clarifying, you're declarifying.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I was kind of getting at is there's just so many of them that for a vast majority of those, you've got really no way of knowing how to define that subgenre. Probably at least one of the more comical ones that I came across were all the subgenres just for pop music. Yeah. So you got adult contemporary, Arab pop, Brit pop, bubblegum pop, chamber pop, which kind of sounds so much like chamber pop.
Or chamber music. That's the first thing that popped into my head.
Christian pop, classical, crossover, Euro pop, which there's a bunch of subgenres of that subgenre. Dance pop, dream pop, electro pop, Iranian pop, jangle pop. There's some other more comical ones. Mexican pop. There's pop rap. And then Ian's favorite, wonky pop. What is wonky pop?
I like the word wonky. I do. It's one of my favorite words. I don't know how it translates to a style of music.
Yes.
Subgenres in world music makes more sense because you've got different cultures with different cultural musical styles and where those styles came from culturally through the evolution of that culture.
Yeah. Whereas like all these subgenres of, say, rock, it's still all kind of rock. Right. It's all rooted in the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Rock is derived from what could be considered traditional music itself, blues or well, I guess blues really. It's really from blues.
Yeah.
But it's also very young, and relatively speaking to all these other types of music, like world music, musical styles.
Hundreds of years.
Thousands of years in some cases. So I guess that part makes sense. World music genres, subgenres, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, but like I said, if you've got rock, there's why is there not just like rock and then your subgenres be like metal, pop, and then like just like straightforward subgenres under that?
Yeah, I could see maybe having 10 subgenres of rock.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because you've got, like you said, you got rock. So you've got pop, punk, progressive, hard rock, metal, What else?
Because
I don't really need
I would say
anything else.
most music, most rock music
falls under those.
falls under that. Because
kind
under
of-
metal, I mean, yeah, you could have Metallica and Poison be under
Right,
metal because it's still Poison is still like hair metal.
right. There's a big difference there, but
There's not a
but there's not as big of a difference as there necessarily needs to be
to be.
to subgenre that out.
Yeah.
You know.
because I think at the end of the day, you just kind of confuse people with all the different subgenres. Right. If you like a band, it's go on their Wikipedia page or go on Spotify and see what kind of subgenres they're listed under. Because I'm telling you,
It might surprise you.
yeah, a lot of bands are listed under one of those goofy kind of subgenres that you've never heard of before.
And to be fair, you might even find that there's artists that are listed under a subgenre, and you're like, no, they should be under this subgenre.
Yeah.
Because, for example, Pink Floyd I've seen them listed under progressive rock, and I've seen them listed under art rock. I've also seen them listed under both progressive and art rock together.
I don't think there's a whole lot that's progressive rock about Pink Floyd.
No, I would
don't know
see
why
them
they're
more as an
listed
art
on it.
rock or an experimental rock.
Yeah.
More so than a progressive rock.
Yeah. Well, that's all we got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop us a comment down below and let us know. Because, like I said, this is a big kind of topic. And I'd be really interested to see what people think about all these different subgenres. Do you think it's kind of interesting and kind of quirky to have a band you love be, whatever kind of,
subcategorized
wonky pop kind of music?
I need to find out what wonky pop is.
Yeah. I'm sure someone in the comments down below will let us know. But
let me know what wonky pop is, please.
Yeah, because it's like I said, this conversation can go in a bunch of different directions. Let us know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give us the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all we got. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Keep on spinning. Peace.